Welcome to the BriteVibe podcast. At BriteVibe, we believe everyone deserves to be happy. But in today's world, everywhere you turn, there is division and negativity. At BriteVibe, we have created a global movement to bring 8 million people together who are inspired to live bright, live bold, and share bright vibes. Alone, it can be hard to change, but together we can change the world. Welcome to the BriteVibe podcast. Well, Sheevaun Moran, welcome to the BriteVibe podcast. So happy to have you on today.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So exciting stuff. So tell us a little bit about Sheevaun. I know just a little bit about you from the research that we do here for the show. I know that you help entrepreneurs, which we have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to the show, but you help entrepreneurs navigate life to some degree. It says that you kind of help people get unstuck. It says helping entrepreneurs and those who are stuck to go prosper through energetic alignment. That's a very cool and inquisitive statement to make, or not inquisitive. But so what do you do? How do you help people?
Well, it's not about a how, it's a what does somebody need, what does somebody want, and where are they going? And what is the thing that is energetically off? And it's not like energetically like anybody else is talking about, for sure. Okay. What I've discovered is nobody talks about this thing the way I do. So okay. It's more like there's an energy inside of you, there's an energy outside of you, there's an energy separate to that of your business. And then there's energies that your clients, see and deal with. And it's really getting those into sync so that what happens is the owner, whether it's one or 100, 1,000, whatever that is, same process, is getting them to go toward all of them working together. So it's kind of more harmonious to the end objective. And the things that often get in the way are the getting in the weeds with, what isn't working. And what people put their attention on is what doesn't work, what hasn't worked, what isn't working, what can't work, what I see right now. And with energy, the cool thing with energy, and I discovered this when I was helping companies get built and sold. I just didn't know it was energy and unique. Everybody just asked me to come and help them do their, really turn their company around. And I realized, I have a different template than most people. And so with energy, anything is possible so long as you sort the energy out first. So that's kind of where I come from is if you look at science, they've now proven that people can sense you 5 milliseconds before you walk in the door on a conversation, do something, say something, etc. And they kind of talk about that in sales training, but not in those words.
And so when you say help bring into alignment or align the energies, what do you mean by that?
Sure. There's when we think of energy, we actually usually think of coffee or 5-hour energy or Red Bull or any of those things. We think of those things, something that we're going to take that is going to give us more. And that's actually the most wasteful use of our body and energy resources. So let's just say that you have an idea and you want your idea to grow and expand, yet you're not feeling well, you don't know how to invite people in to help you. You are so caught up in solving how you see it rather than so many multiples of attitudes, etc., that you're siloing yourself just inside of yourself. And so most people end up keeping things small because they're so siloed. And that's an energy. And that's an energy that is not expansive, that's not inclusive, that's not invitational. And that's really, I'm going to hold on tight and I'm going to do it. And, they have all these words that people use is, working harder, doing, I'm going to start working smarter. It's like, well, we actually don't need to use our brain the same way. We actually need to get our energy sorted in a way so that the results become inevitable, not attracted to us, but inevitable. And so we get these to happen in little ways throughout our day and maybe throughout our life, but we don't know that there's an actual formula to this. And it's important that we don't get just stuck in mind, and we don't
Right.
just get stuck in the body and whatever we're going to take, and all the cool things like nootropics and all the cool stuff that's
Right.
out there.
Right.
We don't get stuck in that, because those are just a small fraction of the energy piece.
Interesting. And so how do you, so in your example where, and I could see that with a lot of entrepreneurs, but just because typically they're visionaries, spend a lot of time in their imagination and thinking about things. And then to some degree, it can be a very lonely existence if you don't include that team. And so in that example, I guess when you're saying align the energy, what's happening, I guess, there to kind of bring them out of that? Or, I mean, I guess I don't want to say fix because that makes it sound too clinical, but kind of what's the better way of being, so to speak, from that stance? How do you actually get people to open up or to not silo?
One, you have to be willing to learn to speak from a place of openness, meaning, are you open to receiving information back, even if it's information that you don't like and
Right.
you don't believe is going to help you? And that means that you are willing to experience what somebody has to offer, and you know how to take it in or release it. And take it in or release it are two different energetic things. Most people just take everything in, and then they, in order to say that, well, that doesn't work for me, they just reject it and they move people away. And it's like, take it in, and there's a process to release it. And I have a guy who I started working with, has several companies, but one of them, we're helping him get built and sold, bigger and sold, I should say. And I looked at the energy of the company, his energy, the end objective, the numbers. I'm a business person, so I geek out on all the numbers and the
As do I.
systems and all the
I do.
cool
Yeah.
stuff.
Right.
Right. And but numbers tell me the energy story that they don't tell anybody else. And so I started looking at all of that, and I said, so what's the guy? There's some guy that is not playing full out. And he's like, oh, I don't know. And we talked about, some of the people in the organization that were at the senior level. And the guy who was basically the president running the business, turns out he has been, I just used the word drift to be nice, because he was a new client.
Right.
And I said, he's on a drift, and I think there's a problem with the way he's managing. And he says, no, he's amazing. He's been with us 15 years. He's really done amazing. He's helped, la, 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 la. And I said, Risley, I think you need to look and have conversations with this person to see where he's really at, and invite him into a conversation rather than just allowing him to be that energy that has always been. I said, I don't think he is the same. I think something has happened, and I think it's actually ruining the business. So took him we worked through some of the deeper processes. I have a set of tools I take people through to help them unlock those unwillingness things on accident, right?
Yeah.
And I took him through those for, I don't know, a month and a half. And I said, I insist that you just have a new conversation. So we got him into having the new conversation. He's like, holy crap, we have to fire him. I was like, well, yes, let's not fire him. So it started this whole thing. And now they have ended up firing him, and found out how many icky things he was doing in the organization. And nobody could see it. And it was because of the energy of all of those different parts that needed to be looked at in a way that nobody else can see. And it would have taken him, as he figured, it would have taken them into selling the organization and having the sale not work out totally as it could, to find that information out. So it was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, and thank you for the example. I love examples. It just helps process kind of what you're referring to. Yeah. You have these 6 pillars to prosper for financial flow and freedom. So what are your 6 pillars?
Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, relational, financial. Financial is last.
Right.
Although I work on it first.
You reverse engineer the thing, do you?
Ish, yeah. I mean, I'm an ex-coder, so I think okay, well, we have this problem that everybody's really focused on. They're always focused on the problem with the money, always,
Mm-hmm.
always. But here's this really interesting correlation that there is always a correlation, always correlation to spirituality, and there's always a correlation to health, no matter what. There's always a correlation to relationships. There's always there's a correlation to each of those six that always affects the money.
Interesting.
Every single time. I've tried to prove it wrong. I've helped thousands of people, and it's like, nope, it proves right every single time.
And so can you give us some examples of that kind of where you went in and it looked like one thing, but you connected the dots, and then kind of the what happened, I guess, kind of those stories are a great way to share knowledge, I find.
I'm a storyteller. The Irish person in me, storyteller.
Yes.
I think one of the ones that is a couple that are very obvious. One is a small tech company. His wife insisted he see me. We had gotten results for her. She was a VP of an alcohol company or something like that. And we turned things around and helped her launch this brand, and it was amazing. And she said, no, she insisted her husband come see me. It was a small company. It was doing a couple million, I think, when he first came. However, it was losing money super fast. And he had shoulder pain, just shoulder pain. And his wife, a little more knowing, just said, just go to her. She does magical things. She does magical things. You've seen this. So just go to her. And we solved the shoulder pain. And so what we found is the shoulder pain was correlated to the Federal Trade Commission was suing him and had just confiscated all of his properties.
Yikes.
And he was in big trouble. He was about to lose everything and then be in the hole for another $5 million.
Yeah.
I said, well, if you're willing to play, I think I can turn this around into something that seems completely radically ludicrous if I were to speak it today. So I'm going to speak it. And I said, I think we can turn this around to where you only pay 10% of what they're taking. He's like, Sheevaun, you're just weird. I said, I'm good at this. I'm really good at this. I'm like beyond good at this. I know it's possible. It's going to take a little bit of ratcheting and wrangling and teaching you how to interact with the Federal Trade Commission in different ways. And I said, if I can be a little arrogant, I would love to say that I think I can even get you to be a consultant for them, but I'm not going to be that arrogant.
I love it.
And so we had to turn it around. I had him, we talked about looked at the energy of the attorneys that he had. And I said, no, all of those but one have to go, because all of them are creating more of a problem. And so we started just working through each different energetic hurdle. They weren't even blocks, they were hurdles. They were mountains. And turned it around. He started getting funding. The Federal Trade Commission came back. He started getting new funding. Sales started coming in. And I said, well, here's the problem. The Federal Trade Commission is always going to come after you for this thing that you're doing. So we need to change the business model.
Right.
So we found a new business model. And through all of that, the Federal Trade Commission only had him pay $180,000 fine.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah.
He is, I don't think I can tell who the company is, but the next thing that happened was he ended up going and being in some of the, I guess the things where they go into Congress and they talk
congressional,
about,
testify before Congress. Congressional hearings is what they call them.
Yeah. So he went and did that for the FTC to help them find a plan.
That's funny.
And so now he has it's a different model, but it's a $50 million company.
Oh, so, nice. Yeah.
Very so that cool. Started with physical pain. Turns out I found out in the midst of it that he was having problems with his wife. Solved that as well in it. And each of those just kept doing what I call the upward trend into getting better and better and better.
Huh. Did you have another example? I'll just stop there. I'll stop there. Do you
I
have
have
one
a
more
lot.
story you
I
want to tell?
mean,
I love
yeah,
your stories. So it's like,
sure.
eh,
A woman who came to me. Now, here's a really interesting story. She came to me and she didn't have a real reason to come to me other than she just knew that I did this magic thing.
magic thing. I like how you're calling it
That's
this
kind
magic
that's
thing.
that's what people called it, is the miracle thing. She's just like the
Uh-uh.
miracle lady.
Yeah.
And what we uncovered is that she had this, because of lots of things that happened in her life and such, and she'd really overcome all of it, but she had this energy that she was walking around with, interestingly enough, that got people to respond to her and treat her really just oddly, not
Mhm.
invite or it was just kind of like, imagine a bubble outside of the
Mhm.
body, and
Right.
she would meet somebody and she's this beautiful woman, one of those model types,
Mhm.
and they were treating her like she was an idiot. she
Mm.
she was like all of these things that were just so not her, and it was the energy. So
Mm.
we started solving the energy, and then what we found out is that she was repelling money.
Mm.
And so the real estate business that they had going, her and her husband, after we, started cleaning those up and solving those, because it's a solution. That's why the company is called Energetic Solutions. So we
Mhm.
solved those,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden they were able to sell like millions of dollars in properties that had
Mm.
been sitting there for a couple of years.
Mm.
Weirdly, yeah.
And when you say so energetic solutions, so solve, and I guess help me because I don't think help me understand when you say processes, tools,
Hmm.
can you give us some examples of what that
So
is?
think about, yeah, a little bit, but think
Mhm.
about Snoopy, and who's the one in the Snoopy cartoons that always has the cloud over their head?
Oh, is it Linus? Is that what is it?
Linus,
Linus,
exactly.
yes. Okay.
Right. So he's always got the cloud over his head. And
Mhm.
that's kind of a representation of many people's energy. If you look at
Mhm.
some of Charles Schultz's stuff, he
Mhm.
actually gives representations of energy. Same with Dr. Seuss, right?
Oh, interesting.
So it's kind of interesting
Oh.
when I look at all of these things. And so we don't know how to release things. So is there somebody in your life that just kind of grates you the wrong way? If
They're not in my
not
life anymore,
everybody,
but
just one person.
okay, yeah. I've got somebody in my past that graded me the wrong way. Yes.
Well, there's probably somebody today, right?
Yeah.
That
Okay.
isn't.
Yes. There's
Okay, great.
yeah. I'll pick somebody today. Yeah.
Okay, great. Because that's a better example. So think of
Hmm.
that person
Hmm.
and think of them, and now take and imagine, do this with me. Take
Hmm.
your right
You want me to
hand
hold
and
my right
imagine you
hand?
have
Okay.
a samurai sword.
I was gonna say, do I get to
Samurai
stab
sword,
them? I was like, I felt like a knife when you said that. I was like, oh, cool. I get to stab them.
or it could, yeah, that's what most people do. Or a samurai sword, or
Got
a
it.
lightsaber.
Yep.
Okay,
I'm good. Yeah.
and then you're gonna, in between you and them, there's a connection,
Yeah.
right? In science, they call this string theory. And you're gonna say, cut all the way down in front of your face. You're gonna say, cut one,
Cut
cut
one.
two,
Cut two.
cut three,
Three.
cut four.
Cut four. Okay.
Okay. And then put your hand down or clap, to release
Okay.
that.
Okay.
And then tell me what you think about that person.
I was kind of neutral right after that. I was kind of neutral about that person.
There's one tool right there.
Huh. And so
Could be.
so go ahead.
So it's an energy. So we have
Yeah.
an energy that is going back and forth, and that is playing to them and us all the time. So they're thinking about you, you're thinking about them. That's why you can have a
Mm.
conversation with them in your head, and all of a sudden they call.
Hmm.
Or everybody's still playing these things out on loops and loops and loops and loops. And therapy, they get you to talk about it, but it doesn't ever solve it.
Hmm.
And the kind of things that I do and teach and share and work people through, is solutions so that they don't have to carry that with them anymore.
Hmm. Very interesting.
So a good example story is the guy I was telling you about, who, is selling the company with the guy who,
Hmm.
it was a problem. And he's been ruminating for the past couple months about all of the stuff, because the guy started spinning out and doing even stupider things. And I said, listen, dude, we have to solve this. So this is not taking up your time and energy and resources so that you can finish growing this company and get it sold and grow the other one that we're working on too. And I said, we're going to use a tool. We're going to use this tool and technique, not this one, but something different. And we created something specific for him. And I talked to him last night. I was in another part of the world. And he said, that thing that we did, he's totally out of my head. I have zero, I have nothing on him at all. It's amazing. I have so much freedom. Yeah.
So what level are you working on here? Is this like a quantum physics, like a quantum field, or what level is this energetic stuff happening?
Yeah, you could say quantum, but quantum is a small particle, right?
Okay,
if you really, I'm a scientist, so I geek out on science.
Yeah, please do.
A quanta is a small particle. And the quantum field means there are trillions of particles. We have to work on lots of different ways in order to get particles to do something different. And the most important thing is everybody always has an energy. When you walk around somebody, do you feel that they have a vibe or no, a good vibe or bad vibe, an okay vibe or I got to get out of here vibe? Everybody knows this. Everybody knows this. And so rather than saying it's quantum, just say, oh, well, it's an energy skin that's around us and we bump into lots of other bubbles.
Right.
In woo terms, they call it auras and stuff like that. But I'm a scientist, so it's more like if you really, the way I speak and the way I teach and the way I help people is we do better if we use it in our language that makes sense to us.
Right.
Like it's a bubble. It's poopy energy, like Linus is poopy energy. Now that makes sense to the brain. It's like, I get that right away.
Right. Yes. Yeah. You're not learning new terminology, just how to apply different, I guess, principles to those things or those words, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Lightsaber, samurai sword, each of these things are designed to help the brain do something and know that there is something being done in order to solve the energy to release that spin.
So typically so big picture for you, kind of what is your want or why are you doing this work?
Why? I'm here to do this. I'm the one who has to talk about energy. I've been doing this a long time. My mission, my sole objective, my purpose for being on the planet is to talk about energy. Nice. In a way that nobody else talks about it, in a way that it impacts and affects a business. I just got off the call with somebody who has a composting company and they're in the fork in the road, the make or break thing. And I was like, yeah, we have to solve this because you're doing something that isn't bringing in the revenue in order to have you achieve the goals that you want to achieve. And it's important that so when I first started, there was no Wi-Fi, right? So it was a lot more complicated to describe this. Now we have Wi-Fi and it's really easy to talk to anybody else in the world. I have a phone that I don't need to have plugged in to any cable or anything, and I can talk to anybody in the world. And so
that's true. Yeah.
We have more devices that are doing energy things. And if we don't deal with our human form in a different energetic way, and we don't deal with things, whether you believe this or not, the impact that 5G has on our energy, and we don't learn to upgrade our tools for energy beyond what we learned in school, then we as the human suffer. We as the human have more illness, less clarity, we create more complexity, we get into war situations more easily, etc. And so we actually have to upgrade our humanity in order to deal with the energies that are going to help us do what we're going to do as better humans.
Right. Actually, I did have an experience. While you were talking, it reminded me of an experience. A physical experience, no woo-woo stuff at all in this, even though I've done woo-woo stuff and I enjoy some of that sometimes. This was a deal where I and a business partner were just looking to buy an office building, a small office building in Wichita where we live. And we went in and it had a radio tower in the back of it and it had a bunch of cell phone stuff on the top, right? And the funny thing was I actually officed there. That was the first office of a real estate company I had. That was actually the building I officed in. I rented it, and it may have been an issue back then. I don't know. So it's been 20 years later. We go back in, the building's for sale, and we both walk in, and he's a chiropractor by trade and a good friend of mine. And so we're walking around, we're looking at it, it was like all done. We're like, this is perfect. We can lease these offices. I mean, we bought buildings and then we lease out to entrepreneurs. Like, so if somebody just needs an office, they can come in and rent an office. And it's kind of like, we call it working for yourself, but not by yourself. How do we build a community of people that are there energetically to support each other? So we're in this building and we're walking around. We're like, this is perfect. It's done. We don't have to do anything. We just come in. And we were walking around in the building, and all of a sudden I looked at him. I said, Joey, do you feel weird? And he goes, he said, I am having a hard time making thoughts work. And I was like, doesn't it feel like we're drunk or high? He was like, yeah, it feels like, he said, I feel like I'm stoned. And I was like, I feel the same way. I said, I feel super weird. And we literally thought maybe we're getting like carbon monoxide poisoning, but the heater wasn't running. We were just like, what in the world is going on? And we left. And for the rest of that day, we both we would text each other and touch base. And it was just like, we both felt super strange the rest of that day, to the point where we were like, we can't buy that building. We can't buy that building. We can't own something that we know is like, and it wasn't anything, literally, it wasn't anything we were even thinking about. It was just, we were walking around under this. I mean, we had to be like, I don't know, 50 feet under this huge cell phone tower, but it had lots of things. And I was like, I think that's actually a thing. I said, Joey, I think that's actually a thing, this frequency.
It's a real thing. Yeah. It's really a thing. And if we don't deal with our physical environment to handle that, and we don't deal with that differently, we don't deal with our own physiology to deal with that, we're going to be at risk. We're already at risk, but now we just have to learn how those all impact us, and then what to do about it.
Yeah. And that was going to be my next question. So what do we, for people listening, for myself, for, people that you talk to, kind of, where do you start? I mean, where do you kind of start? I mean, I know every situation is probably different, but are there some kind of bell curve kind of, this is things that you should kind of think about in your life?
Well, I go for all of the super, very practical things. I mean, super practical, I mean, I have 6 videos that are in the thing that, I said I'd give away.
Oh, okay.
I start all my clients with, listen, these are the 6 get out of prison of the weird energy stuff that's impacting you kind of things. And we give those away because we know that something is off. We sense that something is off. We're impacted by something being off, but we're trained to think, oh, it's just me. That's not really a thing. That's not real. And the truth of the matter is when you start awakening to these things, like, I think that's really a thing, then that starts to cascade into ending up me being on a podcast that you probably would have never had me on before. Right. Right. And it gets this other cascading thing happening, so that people can understand, oh, it's impacting my money. Oh, it's impacting every conversation I'm having with another person. And I didn't know or that energy thing was happening.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And we have a coach that she'd done all kinds of stuff with other people, and I was like, they're teaching you wrong crap. They're teaching the worst crap. You're more in tune and sensitive to energy, so we have to teach you in a different way, because people who are more sensitive to energy actually have to learn different things in order to sell, in order to achieve, in order to get bigger numbers. It's really interesting.
That is interesting. And so you take people through a process, you take people through
Yeah, I do.
Okay. And that kind of helps you identify. So is it, I mean, you're identifying through visiting with the people, much like you would if you're a doctor, you diagnose somebody based on your years of experience. So you're kind of diagnosing this energetic deficiencies or these energetic.
Yes, by their numbers. By their goals, by the numbers, and by the energetic alignment, and the different points that we do in an intake. And then it's a matter of, okay, how fast can we go to get the results? and what tools need to be implemented?
And what does that time frame? I mean, is this weeks, months, years, decades? I mean, kind of what's, and again, I know every situation is probably different based on complexities, but are there
Well, people get results pretty quick. So it's a matter of, well, once they get the result, do they want to do or know more to achieve something more so that
Oh,
they can
gotcha.
be even that much more expansive? So a guy was a client who has dental practices,
Hmm.
and they were doing okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, good. And so within the year's time, he now owns properties. The practice went from under 1 million to like on track to be like 4 million, and
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So his expansion went big, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so
And
everybody's different.
and that was just because he had energetic blocks or energetic hurdles, as you called them, to that
He
growth.
was doing the right things in the wrong direction energy wise.
Interesting. In the wrong direction. So
Meaning
help.
you're 1 degree of north, you're 1 degree off in north. You're so close, but and you can always feel it when you're off. You just don't know what to do about it. So that's when
Ah,
that's when I come in.
right. Very interesting. So I'm
I
just
love that I've totally
I'm
got
just
you to
well,
like
I'm trying to I try to be thoughtful with my questions. And also, my job as a host is to highlight what people do and their talents. That's my
Yeah.
job as a host. So
Mhm.
your mission, your goal here on this little planet, in this speck of time, is to talk about energy, to share energy, to educate around energy, so that people can be free of what, or so that people can what, what's
So
the
they can be
outcome,
free
so
of
they can be free.
of so they can be free, have more freedom, have more fun, have more flow, be better, be contribution. I
Mhm.
mean, be a solution maker, be more enlightened, more enlightening, more so they can contribute more. Because listen, if I help one person, that's wonderful. But if I help one person in a business, it helps thousands of people. Like the guy with the shoulder pain, he had a couple of people when we started. Now he has like 4,000 employees, right?
Oh, wow. Mhm.
So I've helped him, and now he has 4,000 people that are thinking differently because of the way he thinks and the way he
Right.
does business.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So how can you impact the greatest number of people you can with the gifts that you're given, or any of us are given, right? How do we impact the
Hmm.
world in a positive way?
And so it's kind of like be a sun for the little suns. You know what I mean? Be the light, be the one sun for as many suns. How many suns can you light up? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yes.
Or
Exactly.
souls in my case.
Yes. How many souls can so if you had one piece of information you wanted, and if there's 8 billion souls on the face of the earth, and you had like one message that you could give to them, that's succinct and would have the greatest impact to help them have better, or correct their energy, have better energy. I don't even know how quite to phrase that, but basically to up energy them, or up level their energy. What would be that message be?
Can you do it with more kindness than you ever imagined possible?
Interesting. Can you do it with more kindness than you ever imagined possible? Okay, you're going to have to unpack that just a little bit for me. I love it. I love it because it makes me, it's like I had to go like tilt a little bit, because that wasn't what I was expecting. And that's why I love asking that question, because it's never what I expect. And it's always deeper than I expect. That's why that's such a fun question. So, why is that? How and why is that kindness? Why kindness?
Because kindness is something that we have a sense of, we have a little bit of an understanding, but we don't implement it in any and every little situation everywhere. Let's say you're a little harsh or
Mhm.
difficult, or somebody's being difficult, etc. And can you shift that to being kinder? So when I was in corporate and things were, and I'm kind of a AAA personality, so I'm a little fierce. And
Mhm.
then you add the energy of clarity, and it feels really harsh to people. It
Mhm.
feels more harsh than I'm actually being, just because
Mhm.
I'm really super clear.
Mhm.
And Steve Jobs was like that.
Mhm.
He was super clear energy wise, and it felt more harsh,
Mhm.
right? And in some people couldn't handle it, and other people were like, yeah, whatever. And with kindness, you can actually adjust your heart and your mind and your energy to help somebody see it in a way that they'll receive it with kindness, and then it will achieve a different result.
Interesting. Can you do it kinder than you ever thought possible? I think was your verbiage, right?
Yeah. Can you impart something, share something, walk around with something in a different way that is going to be more kind than you imagine? How can you be quieter? How can you be kinder in your words? What kind words can you do? What kind things? It's like it takes the idea of kill them with kindness, takes the idea to, okay, well, don't do that. Let's just energetically share kindness. So what happens is, as we give, we are entitled to receive. You give kindness, you receive kindness, always.
Well, very interesting. Well, that was not what I expected, but it was a very interesting answer to.
It's as simple as I could make it without getting
Yeah.
into the weeds of all the
Yeah.
woo and the cool stuff that I could do with technology and all of the cool tools I have. So the kindness thing is something that anybody anywhere can just implement today.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then that has natural physical or natural laws that tie to it that kind of make your world a
Totally,
better
your shoulders
place.
start to change, your facial structure changes, your body changes, your cadence, your walk, everything changes as you start to implement those in little ways.
Well, that's so interesting. Well, fascinating. Well, thank you so much for sharing sharing around energy today, kindness, all of the things. I had never, I've been in business a long time, and I've always wondered how you bridge those two. I know that they're connected, but how do you bridge those? I have not figured out how to bridge those two things where they're in alignment, right? Where energetically I'm in alignment and the business is in alignment and things are, in alignment and flowing easier, not more challenging, right? Right.
Yeah.
It was kind of
That's
like
when people find me, because there aren't people who do that. And what I've discovered is there are people who speak like they do that, but I come from business and coding first, and then this stuff. And it's like, oh, that's the gift. That's the thing of like, I'm the bridge of like, those two can go together. You just now have to learn how to do it.
You have to bridge between the two, kind of like the intellectual and the heart world or something to that degree. So
or something.
Well, cool. So how do people you said there were 6 videos or something?
Yeah. So or something. You
or
go
something.
to 5, the letter or the number 5, essentialenergies.com, 5essentialenergies.com. And it's inside, there's a little download, and it's inside of there.
Okay.
The 6 videos. And then they can just find me anywhere on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, all those places. Playing on Twitter, because I think it's a lesson in energy, actually, of what Elon Musk is doing. That's interesting to me. But go to SheevaunMoran.com, SheevaunMoran.com.
Okay. And then if you want those downloads, you can go to 5essentialenergies.com.
Yeah.
Okay, and those
that
are 2
gets from the
separate
book, which is inside the videos are inside the book.
Gotcha. All that. And since you brought it up, Elon Musk is doing something interesting with Twitter. I have not paid much attention, other than it seems like a lot of turmoil, but I'm not on Twitter. So what do you think he's doing there?
I just really think he's an interesting character in terms of taking an idea and having some clarity, having some fun, and seeing if it'll work. And he's using the sense of play energy, and everybody's like, this is a serious thing, and this is this, and it should be like this, and it's just like, and he's just playing around. So what, he spent $40 billion or however much he spent,
right?
And so he's thinking about it in a different way than the business world is thinking about it. And it's a fascinating lesson in observation to see how somebody who has a very different sense of energy and play and business than people who are just so serious about business.
Right.
So for me, it's a fun observation to see that energy play. And fascinatingly, the play thing has allowed Twitter to grow and expand, weirdly.
Right. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yes. Well, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a very enlightening conversation. I appreciate you coming on. And if you'd like to come back on, you're always welcome to come back and visit with me and visit with our community. We're all about business, leadership, spirituality, doing good in the world, health, you name it, you're in that spot. So you're our kind of people. So I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you coming on and visiting with us, and I'll watch the videos myself. So thank you.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a great day.
You too.
Bye. Thank you for being a part of the BriteVibe podcast. For more information, go to britevibe.com. That's BRITE Vibe, VIBE.com. Thank you for listening.